I don't think Half-Life really needs an introduction. Crowbar go bog.
The fuck up, you stupid bitch.
Yo!
In short, it's a game that goes out of any boundaries when it comes to the effect it had on the industry. With the technological pushes it made alone, there is a reason why the company behind it is truly one of the most influential companies in the PC gaming sphere. However, I'm not that much of a tech nerd. What I am, however, is a writer. A really shitty writer, but a writer nonetheless. Nevertheless, I'm quite a fan of written stories and how they're told. But what I think really sold Half-Life as a storytelling wonder in video games for me when I played it was the in-world storytelling. Aspects of both the world and the gameplay were being explained to me without a word being spoken. This type of storytelling holds up to modern masters of this type, like Ready or Not and certain areas in Fallout. I was born the same year the Wii came to shelves, which was considered near space-age technology to grandmas all across the globe. And here was Half-Life, doing everything any Wii game ever did 1,000 times better a near decade earlier. And here comes me, little zoomer, reaching the mature age of 18, coming on to shit on the game of Legends with a senior citizen age of 28. It's so old to the point where they will eventually find copies of it in the pyramids of Giza. Listen, when I first played through the game, I really did not like that Gordon was meant to be a blank slate. I played too much of games like Far Cry 5 to not have this impression that having a mute protagonist just doesn't. I have never felt more socially detached from a person I share a perspective with. And I am an extrovert who had social anxiety as a kid. Listen, I really like the Far Cry games, all of them, even the inbred ones and the ones currently lost in its 20s. My total playtime speaks for itself. I think all of the stories in Far Cry history have had genuine moments of genius and true expressions of emotions and themes and all that good stuff. It's just, none of those moments came from the mute protagonists. So when I booted up Half-Life and was met with the void that is Dr. Freeman, I found myself going through the motions. Same motions I slowly went through in Far Cry 5. Only to be bitch slapped in the first 5 seconds. This video is about why I believe Gordon Freeman is one of the best characterized zero dialogue characters ever made. While Valve left Gordon a blank slate, they did not leave him as an empty void. The game makes an immediate point that you are still filling the shoes of Gordon Freeman, holder of a degree in theoretical physics Gordon, been working at Black Mesa and has relationships with his co-workers Gordon. Gordon, at the bare minimum, felt like a person, and that felt amazing. Let's look at the first section at the start of Half-Life 1, all the way up to the Residence Cascade. Why? Because I'm too lazy to record any other section of the game. Starting off, we're given our flavor information. Name, degree in physics, boring stuff, ECT, whatever. Stuff that, whether or not you know, doesn't really matter. This stuff really doesn't matter if you know or not to the characterization of Freeman. Instead, having it shoved down your throat, you can simply read if you want to. A nice little bit of optional lore dump that you can have if you need it. Going forward, the entire intro scene of Half-Life is filled with many visual and audio flares that it can seem a little overwhelming to some, but to most it introduces the world at a rather brisk but still long pace. However, once it comes down to getting the baseline for Gordon's characterization, the game cuts all external distractions, including set pieces or audio PSAs, whatever, and leaves you in one big dark room with a bridge and a single person with an important role in the game, letting you out of the box you've been trapped in. All player attention is placed on this guard here, and Valve uses this time to place all the characterization needed for the first chapter.
Morning, Mr. Freeman. Looks like you're running late.
Boom! There you have it. Character name, situation, and current motivations established right off the bat. From here on out, the wheel is yours. Gordon Freeman is no longer Valve's character, but your character. No, our character. Valve gives us the next 4 to 8 minutes to allow us to set our baseline for Gordon. Does he rush into the lab since he's late to work, or rather does he take his time to say good morning to all his fellow scientists? After all, he's already 30 minutes late, what's a few more? Perhaps he may even cause a bit of trouble, flipping alarms, sticking dicks in casseroles, all of that fun stuff. These types of calm periods is some of my favorite parts in video games, where the baseline of how the world works is established before everything goes to shit. We also get some tasteful foreshadowing. Conversations are less than calming to hear. Things are breaking all around. Tensions are quite high today. It's a big job in the lab after all. At the end of the segment, Valve once again places us in a blank room and explains a quick thing to the player.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit from standard analysis procedures today, Gordon.
Yes, but with good reason. This is a rare opportunity for us. This is the purest sample we've seen yet.
And, potentially, the most unstable.
Now, if you follow standard insertion procedures, everything will be fine.
I don't know how you can say that, although I will admit that the possibility of a resonance cascade scenario is extremely unlikely.
Gordon doesn't need to hear all this. He's a highly trained professional. We've assured the administrator that nothing will go wrong.
Yes, you're right. Gordon, we have complete confidence in you.
Well, go ahead. Let's let him in now.
Fun fact, this works well, regardless of how you acted before getting here. Whether or not you rushed here to make up for lost time or were acting as the office rat bastard, this can either give a positive reinforcement to the player's surface level roleplay, or be giving the player a comedic edge. Because this highly trained professional did this, and then this, in 8 minutes. That's gotta be a world record for tomfuckery. Nevertheless, with the intro done, I think it's time to make a connection with Half-Life and one of the largest creative writing aspects of the internet. Hell, I know one of you read the title and at least thought I might talk about this. If you've ever been on the internet before, well, first let me say I'm sorry for the loss of your soul, but secondly, you've probably at least heard of the wonderful internet phenomenon known as fanfiction. Oh god. Often associated with the scum of the earth, fanfiction is a surprisingly neat way for writers to tell stories by allowing them to add on to existing pieces of fiction. Writing a good character is taxing. As someone who wants to make writing their full-time job, trust me when I say, it is a pain in the ass. You are essentially just making up an entire person in your head, a person who has unique thoughts and life experiences that likely differentiate from your own. They also likely have a history and life just as, if not more, complicated and rich than your own, just to make your story have a good sense of depth. Fanfiction is a great way to practice writing without having to stress about characters. It allows you to practice a very particular piece of writing: late-stage character relationships. When writing, there's a good chance that, as the story goes on, the characters in your story will change. They have new experiences, new friends to draw different types of wisdom and outlooks from. They have formed new relations and bonds with characters, whether it is spiteful, loving, or in the middle somewhere. Whatever it is, there will always be a sense of familiarity between your characters. Things like inside jokes, constantly brought up events, running gags, whatever. It doesn't matter, as long as there is a sense of familiarity between characters. Face it, you do not talk to your friends the same way you talk to them within the first week of knowing them. In all likelihood, you probably treat each other a lot worse, pretty much verbally abusing one another. Why? Because that's what friends do. We shall be collected.
Oh, I remember that part.
Oh, I didn't know there was this fucking fan blade there. My fucking ankles, bro. I didn't think it would spawn me that close. I didn't think it would spawn me right next to the
like
fucking
I said,
blade.
absolute fucking crackhead.
Why would it spawn me so close to a fucking fan blade?
Why else but to fuck with you?
Yo, did something just get...
Slop.
That's a stain.
Nutrients.
That was a stain that wasn't there 2 seconds ago.
So having that character shift from polite or formal to stupid and redundant conversations like real friends is a part of writing that you really have to get right, unless you want your characters to have the personality flavor of styrofoam rubbed against a salty cracker. However, getting to a point where you can practice this is rather difficult, unless you're just going off the deep and writing a book from the start, with the additional conflict of having no practice. You are likely going to struggle to get some of your own characters to practice with. Sure, you can come up with late-stage characters on the spot, but it's very difficult to compare how they started and where they are right now if you don't have that point of reference. This is where fanfiction can come in handy. Boom, like that, you have unlimited established characters to write with. So go nuts and write your heart out. Just be warned, it can be a very slippery slope to madness, especially if you find yourself getting friendly with the shippers. Ugh. I'm just gonna leave you right there with the rest of them. Anyway, what the fuck was this video about? Hold on. Oh yeah, Half-Life. Yeah, that's right. Anyways. Anywho, so Half-Life may be slowly turning you into a fanfiction degenerate, but this argument kind of falls apart the moment you consider Valve gives you a gun. And that allows you to be a complete psychopath. And to that I would say, touche. However, whether by complete accident or pure genius by Gabic Lighter Nubel of Valve has sidestepped this completely by simply doing one thing, making the genre of Half-Life very subjective. When I say the genre is subjective, that can easily be led to a lot of confusion, because you can easily say, no you don't, clearly the genre is horror or apocalyptic or dystopian. You know what? You're right. Half-Life has a very clear-cut cloth of genre when it comes to its gameplay and style and story. This makes my statement make as much sense as a gay otter living in the south of Nevada. But wait, when I say genre, I mean the genre flair. Sure, it's a dystopian, but is it a pure serious or dark comedy? Is this an apocalyptic story with a brave hero saving every man they can? Or is it the story of Jerry, the schizophrenic shooting every wall to baptize them clean of gang stalkers? You yourself get to make these crucial decisions, whether you care or care not about the story, whether you are nothing but the best mankind has to offer, or you are humankind's 28 warning signs and reasons of why not to fuck with us. Number 1 being, we are in your walls, it does not matter. The choice is ultimately yours to make. And thankfully enough, people are choosing their own Gorden Freemans and are consistently finding new ways to tell his story. You don't even need to look far, for some of the best examples lay here right on YouTube. Half-Life, but the AI self-aware is by far one of the best examples of Gorden pushed to an absurd extreme. Not just him, but the world of Half-Life as a whole. There is never a dull moment in AI, but you can always count on one thing. Gorden will slowly lose grasp of his sanity by the end of it. Gorden in this play of events is handed the role of the straight man. Basically, he is the normal dude placed into the world of his friend's maniac mind. Gorden is subject to a world of never-ending madness, which only breaks him down more and more, all of which for the humor of the audience. Oddly enough, Gorden begins to conform with this odd world, only then does he have the ability to go with the flow and make the world bearable. Still, while not making a lick of sense. Funny enough, looking at the events of Half-Life and Wayne Radio's AI series, we can see that they are the exact same. Gorden is a normal person, as it seems, gets to work at a lab where weird shit is going down, and at the end of the world comes, Gorden must face more and more things that make him question everything he knows, while death and horror surround him, only to find himself at the end irreparably changed by the events of the story. For reasons like this, I believe Half-Life is one of the most well-aging games in existence. The story is simple in scale, but so modular in the details that no matter how much you twist, turn, or bop it, it's still Half-Life. Everyone has their own experiences with Half-Life, their own interpretations, but what Half-Life thrives in is how the interpretations is told. Half-Life is a game that you can tell stories about forever. It's one that just invites creativity, and people have taken the invitation, whether it's people like Wayne Radio pushing the limits of what it can offer just to make the audience laugh while telling a cool story, or people like Saint Jam who just want to tell the story of Gorden Freeman the hero who saved the leaders of humanity's greatest heroes. or those who portray him as exactly how G-Man describes him. Someone who is never where they should be, but is always ready, taking on the end of the world one step at a time, one trauma at a time, one bullet at a time. In fact, that's my personal favorite. When I first played Half-Life, I had not a goddamn clue what I was doing. And that's how I related to Gordon a lot with what was happening. We were both overwhelmed. We were just trying not to die. Sure, along the way we saved people and helped humanity fight back whilst it was fighting itself, but I don't think either me or Gordon did it on purpose. From my personal view, Gordon's story is that of unrelating coincidence of both good and bad luck. He never wanted to save humanity, but by the second game, and after days of fighting for his life with no sleep, he tries his best to keep going. Despite the world changing so drastically and the time moving so fast for him that years pass by in days, he pushes and finds a way out. You don't have to agree with this. In fact, I encourage you not to. Go, find your own, and don't be scared if it's similar to mine. Creativity is a thing that always links us back to us. Art, no matter if you're making it or talking it, you will always be expressing yourself. Self-expression is one of the most important things we can do as humans. Our ability to be creative is a process that allows anyone to express themselves and show how they see the world. And regardless of whether or not Valve did this on purpose, the fact that they made a character that is built so well to bring out and celebrate those traits of humanity is something I will never stop respecting. Because regardless of quality, creativity is always to be celebrated.